Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
We're live in Miami. They're down 3-1. We all know that, but they still believe. I'm Carrie Champion, your host. Skip Bayless to my left. Give it up for Skip Bayless.
Before my partner goes, I want to thank every Heat fan for having the guts to come out here and support your team today. I honor that.
I need you guys to give an extremely loud round of applause to cheer up your mayor of South Beach, Mr. Stephen A. Smith. We, again, seriously thank you guys for coming out today. We got a good show. Coming up on the show, we also have Broncos wideout Emmanuel Sanders, as well as Cameron Wake, defensive end for the Dolphins. You guys should be excited about that. New York Giants safety Antrell Rolle also on the show today. We got a Giants fan to the left. Would you like to say anything before we get to it, Mr. Smith?
No, I don't.
I understand. Down 3-2-1.
Wait, can I say something?
Oh, boy. Be nice.
Go Spurs, go!
Oh, boy.
Go Spurs, go! Go Spurs, go! Go Spurs, go! I just said that.
Stephen A., yesterday you said on the show if the Miami Heat went down 3-1, the series would be over. You stand by that today, this morning. Series over?
Yeah, so. You know, even if the Heat had lost, I still would have been up here. I still would have been enthusiastic. I would have been envisioning a comeback that at least pushed this series to a Game 7. But I'm in no mood to play around. The Miami Heat got beat down last night. They've been beat down the last 2 games in Miami. And I think the thing that has gotten me, and I'll say it, depressed, is the fact that they were tired in the second quarter. They were heaving, they were breathing, and I owe an apology to a whole bunch of people because I'm busy. My man, mind your business before I have you thrown out. Don't get on my nerves.
Today he's serious.
I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there like this. I'm watching this team, and they were heaving. They were like me on a treadmill up against Skip Bayless. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, we know I'm not going to last for so long, okay? Right. I'm watching these guys, and in the first quarter, Dwayne Wade was heaving. In the second quarter, I saw LeBron James looking spent. The rest of the team looked tired. And it wasn't because they were older than San Antonio and that was it. No, Greg Popovich went like this. Patty Mills, Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, push it. And it didn't matter what the Miami Heat did. Popovich insisted that they pushed the tempo. And because of it, Miami literally looked like a team starving for an oxygen mask. I mean, it was unbelievable to watch. Now, to leave it at that would not do the San Antonio Spurs justice. They put on a clinic. They're passing the basketball. They're moving without the basketball. They're using the clock. Sometimes they're taking shots quickly in the clock. The Miami Heat don't know what hit them. But in the end, the best player on the floor has not been LeBron James. Dwayne Wade has not been a star. The supporting cast, you usually need LeBron and D-Wade to be who they are in order for that supporting cast to do its job. They can't do their job. And San Antonio is outplaying and outcoaching them. The better team is dominating this series, but they're not just a better team, they're a team in better condition. And I never thought that I would be saying that about a team with LeBron James on it, but that's how Miami has looked, especially last night.
I must say, as over-emotional and wounded as you sound right now, no honorable mayor of South Beach would abandon ship so quickly on these fine people out here. I got to tell you, the true mayor of South Beach would stick with his town's team till death do them part. in 4 games that they would lose.
Well, in my opinion, I am, because I showed up, and I have no desire to. But I'm here. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm just being a realist.
Okay. Now we're about to have some role reversal on this show.
Okay.
There is no way that even I, as the #1 Spurs supporter in the media, is ready to say this series is over. It is not over. No way is it over. I am not going to fall into that trap here today. And maybe you're trying to lead me into that trap, but I don't hear that in your voice. I don't hear any slickster in what you're saying. I think you are truly, utterly defeated today. But I'm here to remind you, if any team had the psyche to make history, it would be the team that originally was called the Heatles. Remember the Heatles?
Yes. I see a few Heatles shirt out here in the crowd. Heatles shirts.
Right now, the Heatles have history before them. Right?
Yeah.
No team has ever come back from 3-1 in a final.
They believe.
I can do without that song. I appreciate your support. See, you started this. Would you please stop it?
They still believe, ladies and gentlemen, here on South Beach. They still believe.
Okay, so here's my point to you, kind sir. Yesterday at the NBA headquarters hotel across the bay, I ran into dozens of people, and I asked every one of them, who wins tonight? Everybody said the Heat will win and win easily last night. Everybody who came here thought the Heat would win yesterday. I thought the Heat would win. You thought the Heat would win. We all pretty much thought the same thing about Game 3. Now, everybody I have talked to today, starting with you, says it's over in 5 games on Sunday night in San Antonio. It ain't that easy. That's a dangerous phenomenon that is happening, because every time I hear everybody say it's going to go one way, it invariably goes the other way. Now, can I remind you that if the Miami Heat did find some crazy way to steal, if I can use that word, Game 5 on Sunday night in San Antonio, do you realize how the earth would move in the NBA? Do you realize how the NBA world would go crazy and suddenly say, oh my God, LeBron and company, all they have to do is win Game 6 back home, and we're back to Game 7. So this thing could swing crazy wildly off Sunday night. How many times have I said on this show, I don't always trust my Spurs at home. I say again and again, I like them better on the road than I like them at home. And I'm going to remind you again, how many times I've used this stat. This regular season, by 5 games, they had the best road record in the NBA. And you just saw why. Because they just clinicked your Heat on the road. Because no team loves to win on the road more than this veteran team loves to pull together and turn down your chance at home. That's what just happened. Okay. But I'm here to remind you. Did the Heat win a game at San Antonio in the finals last year? They won handily in one game. Did the Heat win Game 2 fairly handily this year in the finals? Yes, they did. What did you tell me off Game 1? That if LeBron James had been able to finish, that the Heat would have won Game 1.
Yeah.
So that would mean that they should have won 2 games already in San Antonio. And now you're telling me they have no shot in a 3rd game? I got to tell you, not only is it not over, but you need to get over yourself today. That's what you need. The mayor needs to get over himself. Am I right, Mayor?
I'm saying to you that I picked the Miami Heat to win this series in 7 games.
Okay.
I think it's over. Now, could they go and win Game 5? Yeah, let me tell you why. Because between now and Sunday, you've got 3 full days rest. Okay? And because you've got that rest, I don't think Dwayne Wade will look as bad in Game 5 as he did last night.
All right.
I certainly think that LeBron James will come ready to play. And who knows who else may show up. But then after that, you got a game on Tuesday and, if necessary, Thursday. And this team that is older, because people believe San Antonio is older when, in fact, it's the Miami Heat who are older. When you consider them, the way they look gassed and completely spent, do I think the Heat have it in them to go from Sunday to Tuesday to Thursday and win this series? No. That's what I'm talking about. But could they win game 5? Fine. You know, and that's what it is. Now, when you are a mayor, you have to understand that sometimes you have to deliver bad news to your constituents. You have to sit there and look them in the face and say, we will rise again sometime in the near future. But right now, this is what the catastrophe of our situation entails. It is what it is. I hate to be the deliverer of bad news. I hate to bring it. How do you think that I felt knowing that I had to come on this set today and sit across from you with the debacle that took place last night? But I'm here because you know something, that's what you got to do. I hate to be the deliverer of bad news, but it wasn't your obligation to deliver it to my citizens. It was mine. So I have to sit here and approve the message that I'm delivering. All I'm doing is being real with the folks here in Miami. For us to be back here Tuesday would be a miracle. That's how bad they looked last night. That's all I'm saying. You only go, now if you want to ignore last night and say that they have an opportunity, you know, to be back here Tuesday, and just ignore last night and wash it away, that's fine. But if last night is any indication, then to me they're done, because I can't even get to the basketball. I'm looking at the fact that, I mean, go back and watch the tape. In the second quarter, the Heat were having a problem running back on defense or defending for 20 to 24 seconds. It was unbelievably embarrassing.
I don't need to watch the tape. It's looping in my sight.
Yeah, I bet it is.
And by the way, we do have an obligation to inform the folks here what you're really doing. Because you are petrified of any little thing that could go wrong with the San Antonio Spurs. So what you're doing is you're making sure not to take it for granted. But let me erase that notion by telling you this. I've been saying this all year. Give me credit for this. San Antonio never just wanted the title. They wanted Miami because they believed that last year's title should belong to them. These guys are coming. And when I saw a team last night, outside of Patty Mills waving a white towel when they went up 73 to 49 after a three from Kawhi Leonard, and the crowd was booing the Miami Heat when LeBron had 28 of their first 57 points before not scoring in the fourth quarter. Outside of that waving of the white towel, what I saw on San Antonio's bench, was a team that said, we still got work to do. We ain't finished.
That's right.
That's a bad sign for Miami.
Okay, I'm going to remind you again. My Spurs were up 5 points with 28 fateful seconds left.
No.
And I'm not going to revisit that. I don't want to relive that. I don't want them to relive that. I don't want that to start creeping back into their psyche. I said going in, I said it all year, since December, Spurs in 6. Now, would I love to see them close it out in 5? You better believe it. Nobody will celebrate more than I will if they win in 5 games and make me 1 game short of my original prediction. Is my head telling me that 6 is more likely? It is.
Okay.
It is. I'm telling you God's truth right now. I'm still feeling Spurs in 6.
I will say this. If the Miami Heat ain't going to push this to Game 7, save me the flight. I don't need to come back here.
So if the Heat wins Sunday night, you're not coming back for Game 6.
No. I'm not going to be happy about being back, because I'm not going to believe they can get it done in Game 6. I'm looking for Game 6. I'm looking for a Game 7.
That's what you want.
And right now, I don't even know if there's going to be a Game 6 at how pathetic they looked last night.
Skip Bayless
I'm very
says he's
demoralized.
going to celebrate if, in fact, they're able to do it in 5. That means he will be twerking on television, dancing and whatnot, perhaps.
Maybe for you, I would twerk.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You just have an honest politician. You guys like Skip twerking, the idea of that? Perhaps. We are done.
I wish we were back here so I could jump in the pool.
With the ladies. Yeah, why not, right?
You know what?
I don't think
that's a good idea for Game 6.
I don't think.
Right?
Game 6.
Crowd. You guys want to see him Game 6?
I'm going in the pool, baby.
Ernestine would not approve. Don't you dare.
She would be okay.
She would not. You see what's in that pool?
I didn't think of that.
I
was just thinking of me.
Just be you
Skip
by
Bayless
yourself.
is not getting in the pool. He's not getting in the pool, Ernestine. I won't allow it.
Miami down 3 games to 1, and they're still representing. Sitting with me right now, former Pittsburgh Steeler, now a Denver Bronco. He signed this offseason a 3-year deal to join Peyton Manning. Legacy. That's good news for you. Give it up for Emmanuel Sanders, please. We'll talk football in just a moment, but you picked the Spurs. That's an easy choice.
Yeah.
So essentially you're saying the series is over. Had you had the Spurs prior to last night?
Prior to game one, I had the Spurs all the way.
Good for you.
Me and Akeem Talib, we actually had a fair little wager, little locker room talk. And he's a big Heat guy, and I'm a big LeBron fan. I think LeBron is the greatest player in the world, but I had to go with the Spurs. From a depth standpoint, the Spurs from 1 to 10 are way better than the Miami Heat to me. And then not only that, just watching the playoffs from a fundamentally sound team, you know, you can't pick a better team. And, you know, the ball movement, like you said. And I remember playing AAU basketball, and my team was kind of the, you know, athletic guys, street ball, you know, we'll beat street ball type teams, but every time we faced a team that was a fundamentally sound team, they'll beat us. They shoot our lights out. You know, they're at their spots. You know, they set up an offense and things of that sort, so I had to go with the Spurs. You know, I'm kind of like Stephen A. Last year, Stephen A., you know, he wanted to go with the Heat, but he was like, you know, from an analytical standpoint, I'm going to follow, you know, my mind instead of my heart. So this year, I went with the Spurs.
I followed my heart this year. but, you know, I looked at them yesterday, and like I said, it's not an excuse. It's just a point of fact to watch them and to look at them look gassed so early. You watched the game last night. Did you not see what I saw, a Miami Heat team that looked tired?
You know what? Last night I was actually in Denver. I didn't get an opportunity to even watch the game because I was on the plane. Okay. But I remember talking to Keeb in the locker room, and I told him, when those guys in game 3, they're out there trying to come back, they're playing extra minutes, I said, look, they might just lose 2 games in a row at home because they're going to be winded. And obviously when I got off the plane, I checked my phone, and I was excited because, like I said, I got that little wager with it. And, you know, but, you know, I didn't expect, you know, I expected the Spurs to win the series, but, of course, I didn't expect it to be this bad. Right. I don't think no one could have predicted that they would have beat the Miami Heat.
To me, that's what Skip would all be. The only reason Skip is acting this way is because it's his Spurs, and he, the slightest little thing gets him rattled. There's the same guy that threw something at his TV, almost broke it because they messed up his column in a regular season game.
I remember that.
Okay,
You're very
I'm sitting there going like this. If it were anybody else, you would pay attention to this factor, but you don't want to give it up because you know that you don't want anything to interrupt what's going on right now. But the Spurs, it's not just, of course, Greg Popovich looks brilliant. There's no question. And of course, the team, they're the better team. But you look at them, and who would have thought in their wildest dreams that you'd see a Miami Heat team incapable of defending somebody and looking tired at the same time?
Did Thiago Splitter dunk last night? Wait, Thiago Splitter dunk?
What about that?
The video? Do we have the video?
It came to that. Thiago dunked?
It came to that.
Skip, I'm not so sure the water boy didn't get a dunk. I really am not so sure. That's how bad it was.
Okay, before I get to what I'm going to take issue with both of you on, can I give a quick shout out to my favorite San Antonio Spur? Patty Mills.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Patty Mills. Listen, all the big shots last night, and I think you'll admit this, the will breakers, the momentum breakers were made by Patty Mills. Those burying those corner threes. Thank you, Patty. Because a couple times,
wide open corner threes.
Okay, but you got to make them.
I know.
When it counts.
I mean, nobody was in the vicinity.
Okay, let's take the gloves off. Now, you have admitted you're a LeBron fan.
Okay.
And I have let you, to this moment in this show, get away with saying that the Heat were so exhausted in the second quarter, they couldn't get up the court.
Okay.
Baloney. I'm not giving you that excuse. Okay. Stephen A. Smith, it was Game 4 in Miami of the NBA Finals, and you're telling me a team in the second quarter with the world's greatest, most fittest athlete is gassed? I am not going to let you get away with that. I'm sorry. They weren't gassed.
Let me ask you a question.
Sorry.
Anybody that was there knows I'm telling the truth. By the way, I am not excusing it. I find it inexcusable. But it was what it was.
Okay, explain this to me. Again, a LeBron fan.
Okay.
I go back and forth from night to night. I'm scared to death of LeBron James because he has the capability that is nuclear to go off on my Spurs as he did in Game 2. So last night, I'm expecting from the opening tip for LeBron to be in all-out attack mode. And he was passive on offense from the start. And all of a sudden, we get drama king LeBron again. Twice he has to run back to the locker room, wants to use the bathroom, and wants to get his ankle retaped, or that's what Spoelstra said. Come on, Stephen A. You cannot give this man a pass. If he is the world's greatest player, you can't do that to your team in a do-or-die, desperate game at home in which in the first quarter he had 0 assists. He was unplugged. He was disengaged too long in the first half on offense. That game was basically over after 2 quarters, I thought. At halftime, 19 points. It was basically over. So we can't say one day he's the greatest player in the world, and the next day, let's give him a pass. He didn't have enough help last night. I'm sorry.
First of all, LeBron James is not getting a pass. LeBron James is the best player in the world, and when your team goes down like that, you don't get a pass.
Thank you.
Of course you're culpable. I'm not saying that he's not. But if we're going to do it, let's be honest about all the things that go into it. When we watch a playoff game, we don't get to ignore what transpired throughout the regular season and act as if it has no impact on what has transpired. LeBron James has been carrying the Miami Heat all season long. This team was constructed where it doesn't matter that Chris Bosh is on this team. He doesn't even get plays called for him, like you say. Dwayne Wade and LeBron James are the catalyst for this team. The reason why the Shane Battiers, the Ray Allens of the world, the Chris Birdman, Andersons and everybody else is on this team because they have roles to play, assuming that the big two and LeBron and D Wade play their role. So you got Dwayne Wade missing a third of the season. That's a problem. But you still get in as a number 2 seed because, like you and I acknowledged, they weren't concerned about the Indiana Pacers. But over the course of that, you still have D Wade being out a third of the year. So now we come to finals. And not only do you have a team out west where the West was considerably better, you have the best team in the West. A team that's fresh off of having lost in last year's NBA Finals. A team that not only wants the title but wants you, has the best coach in basketball, and has depth and the greatest power forwards who have ever played the game. So they're going up against you. And now you're LeBron and your compadre, your number 2 dude. Tim Grover swears Dwayne Wade's knees are fine. Structurally, they may be fine, but as we clearly saw last night, it had no lift whatsoever. Couldn't get off the ground for crying out loud. So what are we saying? What you got to deal with is, I don't have my number 2, and the role players, their productivity is contingent on what me and my number 2 do. And it wasn't there. What you want me to say? It is what it is.
Okay, in Game 2 in San Antonio in the first half, LeBron James scored 12 points in the paint. Last night in the first half, he scored 0 points in the first half in the paint.
Last night he had 19 points in the third quarter, and the Miami Heat had 21.
Okay, but the game was virtually over.
I'm just saying.
He just freestyled.
I just said, no. What I'm saying is they only scored 2 points. No one else made a shot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say how bad it was. One other person made a shot. Mario Chalmers had a sighting for 2 seconds, and he made a little 12-foot baseline J. And just said, woo, thank God. Okay? That was the only other shot anybody made in the third quarter. What you want him to do? I know LeBron's culpable. I know that he doesn't get a pass, but what do you want him to do when you're going up against this team and you have no help whatsoever?
I mean, honestly, what you're saying, Stephen A, is you're making excuses for the Heat.
I'm talking facts.
But you are making excuses. At the end of the day, this whole conversation has come to one point: the Spurs are the better team.
Okay.
It comes down to it. They're the best team.
But I recall saying that.
Blank period.
But I recall saying that.
No one saw this series looking like this. The Heat being beat twice at home. No one would have.
You may have been in the friendly skies, flying from one city to another. All right. You may not have heard. You may not have seen the show. Everybody has acknowledged that the San Antonio Spurs were the better team and the deeper team. What we all felt, however, was that LeBron James being that superstar, the teams were evenly matched enough where you'd get to a Game 7, and then that one dude is supposed to be able to take you there.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the team has been blitzed from, just blitz since they arrived in South Beach. That's your problem.
All right, quickly, because we got to go. And we didn't ask you anything about football.
That's
Tell us
all
about
right.
the
That's
decision to join the Broncos. Excited?
Yeah,
How'd it go
I'm
down?
super excited. Like I said, I got Peyton Manning as my quarterback. He's the greatest, if not one of the greatest. And I'm excited. I'm ready to take off. I played in June Jones' system at SMU. I played in the passing system. I went out for a lot of yards, so I'm expecting for me to have a great year, and I expect for my team to have a great year.
It is hard to believe that you departed from Mr. Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger, but I understand.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin is like a father figure to me. I definitely miss those guys over there, but I'm not going to lie, I'm happy to be where I'm at.
Good for you. All
so
right.
you going to guarantee that Denver wins the AFC?
I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I tell you what, we got a hungry team. We got a really good team.
Yeah.
John Elway has made a lot of transitions and acquisitions in the offseason to bring in some hungry guys, and I'm looking forward to the season.
All of you guys that have come in from the offseason, I'm so happy that y'all there, because at some point in time, y'all might need to go into the locker room and slap those dudes upside the head that refused to show up in the Super Bowl. I'm still ticked off at that.
Give it up for Emmanuel Sanders, everybody.
Didn't even show up.
Joining us right now, I need you guys to give it up for Super Bowl champion safety from the Giants, Antrell Roll. He's your very own. He's Miami kid.
The U is in the house.
The U. All right, so you tweeted probably 4 or 5 days ago that LeBron James is the best player in the world. Give him his respect. You're wearing his jersey. You're representing. You actually went to the board and said they're still going to win the series. So it's not over.
It's not over, but that's not my call to make. That's up to the Miami Heat to determine whether it's over or not. And based off what we've been seeing the last couple of games, they've just been outworked, they've been out hustled, they've been out coached, they've been outplayed. But it's not over yet. It's not over yet.
So they're going to win. In 7?
Well, in my profession, it's not over till it's over. So once you reach that playoff series, there is no losing. So in my eyes, the Heat won one game. They have 3 more to win. Each game presents its own different set of challenges. So if they take it one game at a time, anything can happen. But it's up to them. It's up to the Heat, whether they want it or not.
Okay, but what do you think's going to happen in Game 5 Sunday night in San Antonio?
I'm hoping that they have a reality check. That's what I'm really hoping. I'm hoping they have a reality check, because right now, everyone wants to grant them being the more talented team. But even right now, it's not looking that way. They don't look like the best team. They don't look like the most talented team. And
you think the Spurs look more talented than LeBron James' team?
They look more talented than them. When you have guys as far as Ginobili, you have guys that's coming and stepping up like Mills, you have the player Leonard, they look more talented than the Heat right now. And I think the Heat need to stop relying on their talent so much and need to get back to working with their fundamentals, their teamwork, their feet. They're not even moving their feet. They're not playing any defense right now. So, it's time to get off the high horse and get back to work.
See, he may not have mentioned this to y'all, but he and I go back a ways. We communicate all the time. So he knows I mean well when I say this to him. Sometimes you professional athletes get on my nerves. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why, Antro. You know good and well body language means something.
No doubt.
How you could just watch and see. You know when somebody's gone. You're trying to tell me you saw the Miami Heat last night and you didn't see a team that was just gone, that was just done?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's exactly what I saw. But it's not finished yet. Like I say,
so you trying to tell me, hold on. You trying to tell me you can look at the Miami Heat. It's one thing to lose because losses happen. I've seen the Lakers lose by 40 in the NBA Finals and come back and win the daggone series.
Right.
What I'm saying to you is there's a difference between losing and being done. Right. And I'm saying to you, you just acknowledge you looked at them and they looked done. Have you ever seen a team in all your years that looked done and then turn around inside of 3 days and look fresh and new?
Actually, I was a part of a team that did that.
Boom.
I was a part of a team.
Which one? Which dynasty? Which one?
Actually, it was the Giants team that won the 2011
That's right.
Super Bowl, and the team when I went to the Super Bowl with Arizona Cardinals. The game before we won out, we got beat by the New England Patriots 56-7.
Yeah, but that was New England. That was just one game. Y'all had a good season.
No, we didn't have a good season.
You had a decent season. The Giants were up and down.
9-7.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I guess because it's the NFC East and the Dallas Cowboys are in it, we all know 9-7 is not good enough.
When we won the Super Bowl in 2011, everyone counted us out. We had to win out. We had to go play the Jets, win out.
That's right.
We had to go win the Dallas Cowboys, and then we had to face Atlanta first round, Green Bay, then San Francisco.
Atlanta was suspect that year. Green Bay was tough, but Atlanta was suspect. They had to come to the middle, which is now MetLife Stadium. And you know, come on now, nobody was expecting y'all to lose to Atlanta.
What about Green Bay?
Well, that was
Green
tough.
Bay.
That was tough. That's true.
There we go.
That's true.
Listen, it's all about if you want it. If you want it, you're gonna go out there and go get it. That's something that I do know. So I agree with you 200% when you say you saw the look in their eyes and they looked like they were done. The only thing I have a problem with is I feel like Bron has to do way too much work. He is carrying the heat way too much.
He blames LeBron.
Come on.
Listen,
the greatest player in the world?
Listen, he's been the only consistent player each and every single game. No matter what. Everyone wants to, point the finger at Bron. But if it wasn't for LeBron, they wouldn't even be here.
I don't know anybody who's pointing the finger at Bron. I don't. And yet, you believe in plus minus, right? You think it's pretty indicative. Last night, the worst plus minus on the floor belonged to LeBron James, minus 21.
Well, I don't think it was indicative. I don't think that was an accurate statistic last night.
Okay.
I think on most occasions that applies, but not last night.
Okay, so Stephen A. Smith, when you talk body language, are you suggesting to me that King James has mentally quit on this series?
No, I think that King James, I don't think King James quit. I think King James sat on the bench and was like, damn, I'm all by myself. I got
so
no
now we're back
help in
to
this.
Cleveland again.
You know what? Last night it was.
Basically.
Last night it was, Skip.
Basically.
Last night it was.
You're exhausted.
Can you deny that? Can you deny? Let me ask you a question. I got a question for you, Skip.
Yep.
Last night's game, or just the last two games, has that San Antonio Spurs team against the Miami Heat not looked like the San Antonio Spurs against Cleveland back then? In finals? Has it not looked like that kind of matchup?
It actually looked worse because all four of those games in the finals against LeBron's Cleveland team were all pretty close games.
They had some dogs. They had some Anderson Varejao.
I think you underestimate that lineup around him. When you got Varejao,
well, they were
Williams,
tough defensively. I was just saying they didn't have anybody offensively, but they were tough defensively.
Gibson,
they could get stops.
I thought they were pretty good.
Could get stops. This Miami team against this San Antonio Spurs team can't get stopped.
Okay, but you always make the case. You just made it. You've seen a Laker team just get annihilated and bounce back and win the championship.
Yeah, that's not the
okay. The last two games, the Heat got clinicked on their home floor by the best passing team in the NBA and the best three-point shooting team in the NBA, hitting on every cylinder all the way down the bench. So I'm just telling you, after game two, I'm sitting in the same chair, and people are making the case, the Heat have the three best players on the floor at any given time. Well, I'm just telling you, that's how the emotions swing in this series.
In this series, the three best basketball players on the floor, a legitimate argument could be made, has been LeBron, Tim Duncan, and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, that's fair. All right,
I think Boris Diaw creeps into that.
We got to switch to football because we got a lot to take care of. Let's talk about your Giants and Eli. How's he doing?
Eli's doing great.
Okay, so physically he comes back this year. Y'all won the Super Bowl. What happens?
We're definitely going to make a run at it. I think we've improved so much, just in our level of talent and just our mindset as far as football comes this year. So right now, the way our OTA has been going, it's been phenomenal. It's been just on top of the hill when you're talking about aggression, on top of the hill when you're talking about guys flying around just making plays.
Okay, so Antrell, right here, right now, today, rank the NFC East for me. Just rank as you approach next year. Where should the teams be ranked?
Based off last season or based off this
upcoming season? Just what you know right now from draft, moves, free agency.
Well, obviously, I'm taking Giants number one. I'm taking Washington at 2.
Really? Washington at 2. Ooh.
Philly at 3 and Dallas at 4.
Okay, I agree with you. I think we agree Dallas should be ranked 4th. I'm a little surprised, even though we both agree with your ranking of Washington, that you have Redskins above Eagles, because most people would rank the Eagles first in your division, even though you got to protect your turf with your Giants. right? Why don't you like the Eagles?
I think, not that I don't like the Eagles, but I think if you have the right defensive scheme against the Eagles, you can definitely shut them down. I think we displayed that in the second game we played them.
Wow.
As far as Washington, I think Washington has more weapons. And I think, they've added more weapons, especially to the offensive system. I think RG3 definitely bounced back and have a better season this year. And defensively, I think they've added a lot of veteran leadership to their defense, and it's going to help them out a whole lot.
Ryan Clark.
Right. I mean, he's a huge plus for them.
Yep.
I think Ryan Clark, just the way he plays the game, his intellect on the game is going to definitely help him out a lot as far as gathering that group.
What do you think about Deshaun Jackson going to the Washington Redskins?
I think that's a huge move for them. I think it's definitely going to help the Redskins out a lot. Deshaun Jackson is a phenomenal player in this league, and I think he has a chip on his shoulder. I think he has something to prove. So, I wish Deshaun the best of luck, to go out there and do what he does best, which is to make big plays. But, against the Giants, it's going to be a different story.
The Dallas Cowboys weren't doing much anyway since they've missed the playoffs the last 4 years. Now Tony Romo is coming off of back surgery. Sean Lee is gone for the year. When you look at the Dallas Cowboys, are they as big of a joke as I think they are? Are they destined for last place in the NFC East?
Well, we can't say they're a joke because, they beat us 2 games last season. But, when you play those guys, it's either hit or miss. You're going to either find a team that's hungry, that's going to go out there and play dominant, and they're going to play to their final whistle blows. Or you're going to go out there and play a team that seems like they're out of whack a little bit, like they're out of sync.
Right.
So, it depends on the day, what team you're going to get.
So you guys, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I've been told right now that we have a special guest here for Stephen A. Smith. You weren't feeling well today, and everyone is well aware of that. And we wanted to cheer you up. Okay?
I'm listening.
Let's go to the pig board and welcome in the mayor of Miami Beach. The real Mayor Levine is here.
Wow. Thank you.
Can you please cheer up my partner?
Stephen, I'm Philip Levine, and I'm the mayor of Miami Beach. And I understand you are the honorary mayor of South Beach.
Yes, I am.
Well, I'm here to say hello to you and tell you a couple of things. Number one, Miami Beach, at one point, everyone said it was a city lost. We came back to be the hottest city in America, and that's exactly what the Miami Heat is going to do. And let me say one more thing also. Okay?
I'm trying to
a second real important announcement. I got to let you know. Hey, Skip, your car just got towed. I want to let you know. I'm sorry to tell you that. Thank you.
The mayor is walking over and presenting a key to the city for our Stephen A. Smith. Give it up.
Yes.
Stephen A. has the key to the city. It's official, ladies and gentlemen. He's rejuvenated. He's the mayor. It's the mayor. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, God.
Now he's okay.
Get out of here.
Please.
I see all these fans out here. Stephen A.'s rejuvenated while being presented the key to the city.
By the way, Carrie.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Do you realize how dangerous it was for the mayor to give this man the key to this city?
He deserves the key to the city.
You know where he might wind up with that key?
He deserves the key. Stephen A., you feel better, right?
I feel much better.
You're rejuvenated.
I feel much better.
Okay.
Who knows? There's a possibility I might be back after all.
Oh. He's back on. He's back on. Anyway, we're waiting to see if Miami can make history, but like I said, the fans absolutely still believe. It's time for Carrie's Court. It's that opportunity for the fans to sit and talk with Skip and Stephen A. I have a young lady with me by the name of Derica. Derica, where are you from, and who's your question for?
From Atlanta, and this is for Stephen. Will LeBron's legacy be affected if he plays with Carmelo Anthony?
I'm sorry?
Will LeBron's legacy be affected if he plays with Carmelo?
In the eyes of some people, I'm sure. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're already a 4-time MVP and a 2-time champion and recognized as the greatest player in the world, the fact is I don't think anybody can take away from that. When you are the alpha, your legacy is not nearly as affected as if you were just somebody that was coming along for the ride. That's the difference. It doesn't matter who you go to play with or who comes to play with you. If you're still the top dog wherever you are, then you're the top dog.
Stephen A., let's be real about this. If LeBron James left Miami to join forces with Carmelo somewhere else, I don't know where, maybe New York.
No, I think her question was if he came, what if Melo ended up coming here with LeBron?
I'm not sure exactly, but again, if LeBron left to play with Melo, he would look bad.
Yeah.
He would look like Soldier of Fortune, like I'm going someplace else.
I would say this. You're right if it were anywhere other than Miami or Cleveland.
Yeah.
But if LeBron decided to go home, he doesn't look bad. If LeBron decides to stay here, he doesn't look bad. But if he goes to another team to join forces with somebody else, that would not be a good look.
So just as far-fetched as it might be, some people were knocking the story down yesterday. If, in fact, the Miami Heat figured out how to get Carmelo under their cap for next year here, do you think the NBA would like that? Because I don't think they would love it.
I don't think the NBA would like it if the big three remained intact and Melo came. But if Bosh left and Dwayne Wade acknowledged that, the knees has him on the downside of his career and he accepted a pay cut and you just got Carmelo Anthony, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But if all four were here together, I do think that would look kind of bad. I wouldn't care, but it would look bad.
You know how they say Laker fans are delusional? We have someone here from Los Angeles, California, who's not necessarily delusional. You're pretty realistic saying that he doesn't believe we have a chance to get Carmelo or LeBron. It wouldn't work well with Kobe, but he does have a question about Kobe. What's your question?
My question is, who do you think Kobe wants as his next head coach?
Wow.
That's a good question.
Me personally, Skip, I have the coach that comes to mind that I think Kobe would love to play for is Mike Krzyzewski out of Duke. That's not going to happen. He likes Byron Scott. He's fond of Byron Scott. But I'm not going to go out of my way to say, oh, my Lord, he has to have it. He wanted Brian Shaw. It didn't happen. So the names that would come to my mind would be two untouchables, Mike Krzyzewski, who's not leaving Duke, and Brian Shaw, who can't get out of his contract in Denver.
I think you'd have loved to play for Derek Fisher as his coach, right?
That would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been real cool. It sounds like Kurt Rambis has the inside track on that job. I like Kurt Rambis as a coach. I don't know about how Kobe would deal with Kurt.
Well, Kurt was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I like Kurt. I'm fond of him.
So am I.
But his job that he did in Minnesota wasn't great.
Yeah.
And I think L.A. needs a big name, somebody with name cachet that can usurp the influence of Jim Buss on the Lakers roster. Somebody that's going to have the support of Laker Nation where Jim Buss recognizes that you can't just do the stuff you want to do and ruin this franchise.
I'm with you. I think right now Kobe would prefer Byron Scott.
Yeah, he wants a big name, but that's a good point, Stephen A. You need to have somebody that has a name that can deal with Jim Buss and what he's doing.
That will have the support of Laker Nation.
Exactly, so we listen to what he's saying. I have a guy here from Gainesville, Georgia. Clearly, I think it'll be a question about the Falcons. I'm not really sure. What's your name, sir? Who's your question for?
All right, my name is Joseph Rayner. I'm from Gainesville, Georgia, and my question is for Stephen A. Smith. Was giving Matt Ryan a $103 million 5-year extension contract productive for the Falcons to getting to the Super Bowl?
Well, I don't want to say it was productive to get them to the Super Bowl because they still haven't been to the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan as their quarterback. But what I will say is that when you look at what he's capable of doing and what other quarterbacks are making, you had to give him that money. How the hell are you going to justify shortchanging him when Tony Romo gets $108 million, $55 million guaranteed, or Jay Cutler gets his money? And then, the list goes on. Who else am I missing, Skip Bayless? I mean, give me a break. If you're going to give out these numbers to these mediocre quarterbacks in big moments, got the numbers, but in big moments they're mediocre, how are you going to deny Matt Ryan his money? So I don't blame the Falcons for doing what they did.
I do. And what's his name? I'm sorry.
Joseph. His name is Joseph. Joseph, he wants to address you specifically.
Yeah.
Joseph, Skip's going to say something
Joseph,
to you.
I appreciate you supporting our show. I know how much you love it. We appreciate you asking the question and being here. I do not love Matt Ryan as your franchise quarterback. I've said that before that draft. He doesn't have top-tier, big-time intangibles to me. Big game intangibles. Make the throw at the moment that wins the game that gets you to the Super Bowl. Go back a couple of years ago, obviously, to San Francisco. Couldn't make the play that Navarro Bowman broke up.
All right. You've said that on the show, so that's not breaking news per se. You're being fair. I got a guy here from Richmond, Virginia. Devontae, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Devontae, yeah.
It's a tough one. Okay. Who's your question for? What is it about?
This question is for both of you, actually. If the Spurs get to the championship and win it, who do you think is going to get MVP?
Skip, I'll give that to you first. You should answer that.
Want to know the truth? This is the first time I can make a case that the entire team should get the MVP trophy. Seriously. Because everybody has made some special contribution. And I know that sounds cliched, but that's who they are. Because if you say it's Kawhi after these two games in LeBron's house, the first two games from Kawhi were not great. Tony Parker's had moments. Manu's had moments. He's got the best plus-minus of any Spur. And obviously, Boris Diaw is making a case he could be the
Big
MVP.
time.
Maybe whoever takes over a Game 5 would be the MVP. But right now, I think it's a team trophy.
I don't blame Skip for feeling that way, but I'm going to go with the individual. It would be Kawhi Leonard. I know that Boris Diaw has made a significant difference and he deserves a lot of credit. But when you say MVP, you have to understand that you're talking about difference makers. This series was tied 1-1 and it changed with Kawhi Leonard's performance. And not only that, there's the footage of Greg Popovich punching him in the chest affectionately because he's so proud of him. There's sound with Greg Popovich telling him how proud he was of him and how much of a difference that he's made. And I think all those things have resonated. And as an aside, I want to give my boy Charlie Mack a shout out, Will Smith's right-hand man, who texted me, prior to the series, said Spurs in 5, bucket. And he called it. He actually called that the Spurs were going to win both games in Miami, and he's making me come on national television.
So you're saying he was right that it's going to be in 5?
No. He was saying that the Spurs, he's saying the Spurs are going to win in 5, but he said the Spurs were going to win games 3 and 4 in Miami. I told him he needed to be drug tested, and he got, he was sitting there with Will Smith, so I got to sit there and give the shout out.
Cameron Wade, give it up for him. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We are definitely going to talk about your series pick that Miami is going to win the chip, but let's talk a little bit about football. You guys made some news, not for good reasoning. You know about the Jonathan Martin scandal at home. We're going to talk about it here. You were one of the few voices in the locker room that was very vocal about how you felt the team was being portrayed, what was happening inside of your locker room. And here's a quote. What's been bothering me is kind of things that you hear from outside this locker room about things that maybe undermine the integrity of our leadership or the type of players and the class of guys that we have here and the class of this organization. I've been here 5 years, and Coach Philbin has done nothing but turn this organization in a positive direction from top to bottom. So not only do you have to deal with Jonathan Martin the entire season, you don't make the playoffs. How tough of a season was it for you all?
I think everybody knows kind of from the outside what was going on in the locker room, and football wasn't necessarily going the way we wanted to. Like I said, we didn't make the playoffs. Had an opportunity at the end of the season to kind of close it out and get in, but we didn't finish. So it was tough. I'll be honest with you, it was tough from top to bottom. And the thing that kind of stuck with me most is the way the guys all came together. Everybody got behind each other, said, this is a us against the world kind of situation. And we have to make sure that each man has a man to his left and his right's back. And every Sunday we go out there and we give it our all.
How do you feel about Jonathan Martin now?
It's tough. It is tough because, I wasn't involved in whatever he was going through. So for me to speak on another man's weight, I don't know how tough it is for him. For me, maybe things would be different, and everybody responds to stresses differently. So I can't speak on, what goes on from him. But, for me as a person, the way I deal with things, I address them, front and center. And, those situations for me maybe would have been a different way. And hopefully I wish either now and going forward that anybody who has that situation, it's addressed differently.
You still have some resentment for the way he handled everything?
I would wish the whole situation would have been handled differently, and I feel like, football is a different situation than, working at a corporate office, and some of the rules may be a little different. But the whole situation was kind of, I think, upsetting around.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you being straight up the way that you always have. And I certainly don't mean my remarks that I'm about to remind you of to be aimed in your direction, because I don't know whose direction it deserves to be aimed in. I'm only going by the media reports. When I spoke out about the Miami Dolphins, I was completely disgusted with the brothers in the locker room, because the media reports coming out of the locker room all over that circulated nationally was that you had a few black players in the locker room. Nobody said you, of course, but you had a few black players in the locker room that were saying, well, Jonathan Martin, Richie Incognito, is more of a brother in our eyes than Jonathan Martin, which I thought was one of the most ignorant pieces of words that I've ever heard come out of any kind of locker room. And I spoke out against that about the Miami Dolphins. What do you have to say about that, or some people inside your locker room who had that position about Richie Incognito in comparison to Jonathan Martin?
Well, for me, just as a whole, I don't look at brother versus not brother. I mean, I feel like we're all brothers. We all are just a fraternity, a brotherhood. We out there Sunday, we bleed, we sweat, we cry, all together. And brother, not brother, to me, that doesn't matter. To me, it's about a football player. And I spent 3 years with Richie as a football player. The guy's a great football player. Jonathan Martin, same thing, football player. I don't have an issue with him. What happened was the things that happened outside of that got turned into race versus not and all that. And I never put myself in that box. So for me, like I said, Rich, he never did anything to me personally.
He wouldn't to you. He wouldn't think about that with you.
So I didn't have an issue with him personally. Now, what they had in between them through their personal phone calls and texts and all that, I wasn't there. I can't say. So a lot of things that I spoke about was, outsiders looking in and talk about the leadership and what guys aren't doing or not doing, and nobody's in there but the guys who are in that locker room.
Okay.
So tell us about your football team. And by the way, I love your Dolphins aqua jacket that you got on.
Oh yeah, I got to represent even when
that looks good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, it's hard for me as we sit here right now to make a case for your team being that competitive within a division that's still, to me, dominated by New England, with the Jets moving just a little bit above you guys. How do you feel about that stance of mine?
Well, obviously, I've been here for a little while, and there's no doubt that New England has given us trouble for the past few years. But I go off of, the things that I see day in and day out, the way I've seen guys progress and the strides that we're making, not just individually, but as a team. And, even going this last year where, I look at that division and, we end up splitting with the Jets, splitting with New England, and then Buffalo beat us twice, and it feels like every week that we play those division games, it's going to be a game. It's not like, hey, we're just coming here and New England's going to win or Buffalo's going to get squashed. Or it's every week in and week out, it's going to be competitive. And, of course, I think that we're making strides toward being the top of that division. And I think we've shown that over the past season. We just got to do it more consistently.
But would you still say New England, at this moment, adding Revis, deserves to be ranked as the top team in your division?
It'd be hard for me to say that. I feel like, again, of course I'm biased, being in that locker room and being on the field. We just literally finished our OTAs, and, I've seen the things that the guys even on offense, they're making tremendous strides with the new coordinator. And I'm looking forward to, making that statement you made and making you have to question that coming up this season.
Skip doesn't believe in Ryan Tannehill. Do you?
I do.
Why?
Again, you got a guy who's coming in young, and I know everybody has their bumps going along the road is trying to learn the NFL. Sure. And he sure had his, but every day, literally, I'm a guy chasing him around the field, and I'm watching him make the reads that maybe he didn't make a couple years ago, or making plays that he didn't make, and moving forward, he's gotten better every season. And I know this season is going to do the same.
All right. Back to basketball. Miami Heat in 7?
Miami Heat. You know what? I watched the game last night, and I'm fortunate to be down here. I've been in a couple games over the course of the season, and it's amazing to watch those guys play when they play to the level that they're capable of playing. I don't think, obviously, we didn't see that last night, but I know when you take a maxed out team of the Miami Heat and a maxed out team of the Spurs, I feel like your Miami Heat's going to prevail. So now that's all granted or contention upon them maxing out that effort, and that has to come from all 5 guys on the court. And obviously you can't just have one guy doing it. It's a team, and right now the Spurs are playing better as a team than the Miami Heat. So we got to turn it around.
But you're hanging in with what? Heat in 7?
That's the only way it's going to get done.
Okay.
And
that's it.
That's no other choice, Skip.
That's the only way it's going to get done. And I mean, again, I think that you have a lot of guys on that team who have the ability, have the drive, have that fire to make that happen. But again, they have to make sure they get it done.
Mayor.
I have nothing to add.
Okay.
I mean, he can believe what he wants.
Okay.
I definitely respect that, and we are hopeful that the Miami Heat will do that. But we've seen no indication over the last couple of games that the Miami Heat are capable of getting beyond a Game 5, let alone to a Game 7. We would have to see it. I'll wait and see.
Let's talk about LeBron James, okay? Mayor, we're talking about his future. We're told by our Ramona Shelburne that no matter what happens, the outcome of this series, LeBron's future does not depend on it. So I ask you this, Skip, how will this series, in your opinion, affect LeBron's future in Miami?
Well, first of all, Ramona Shelburne, who does a fantastic job for ESPN LA, she's right when she says the outcome per se is not going to determine LeBron James' future in Miami. Let me break down to you what's transpiring. LeBron James is in a tough spot, but nobody is in a tougher spot than Pat Riley. LeBron James is in a tough spot because he doesn't want to be perceived as a mercenary, like you just hopping from one city to another trying to win championships or whatever. You got to have a home base somewhere. So it's basically a situation where, in all likelihood, it would be a Miami. But you look at a Cleveland, for example. The problem with Cleveland is that even though it's his hometown, they got Kyrie Irving, they got cap space, you still don't have a coach. All right, you've got a young general manager, and you've got the residue of owner Dan Gilbert being so disrespectful towards LeBron when he had left to come to South Beach. LeBron has not forgotten that. He's gotten over it, but he hasn't forgotten it, okay? But then you look at Miami, and you say the upside is the scenery, the weather, South Beach, the whole bit. Pat Riley, an executive who has never broken a promise to LeBron. The problem, Skip, is that Pat Riley's got a problem. Chris Bosh can opt in, but the likelihood is, or he can opt out, but the likelihood is he may opt in. Dwayne Wade would need to take a pay cut because his knees ain't what they used to be in the lift off the shot.
Are we still talking about adding Carmelo?
So again, because let me tell you something. LeBron James, in all likelihood, will not stay with this Miami Heat team if it stands pat. He will look to leave. In order to convince him to stay, Pat Riley is going to have that come to Jesus conversation with a Bosh, with a D Wade, about what the organization could potentially do for them, what's in the best interest of themselves and the organization, in order to facilitate the arrival of somebody else. LeBron is going to wait to see what transpires on that level before he makes his decision. So Pat Riley is the guy on the clock, especially as you looked at this team last night that has no bench. And for the last 4 years you get to the NBA Finals, the last 2 years you never did anything to improve your bench. They had no help.
Okay, first let me say, I, for one, will not let LeBron's camp get away with starting to portray this team as the Cleveland Heat.
No.
Okay? That's where we're heading now, as, I don't have enough help here. I got to do something else.
In all fairness to them, LeBron's camp is doing no such thing.
Okay.
They've had nothing to say.
Okay. Beautiful. Now, let's turn our sights to Dwayne Wade. I will be the first to admit, as big a Dwayne Wade fan as I am and have been for years on this show.
As well as I.
You are. I looked at him last night, and I'm not with you on exhausted or just heaving for air, But I did look at him at one point, and I thought, this is just my gut feeling.
Okay.
His face was looking a little fat last night.
Really?
Yeah. That's how it came off to me. And I thought, because he can't work out the way he used to work out, that every bit of his workout is directed toward just trying to get his knee right, that he can't do the kind of cardio work that you need to do during the season, or weight work for that matter, to stay svelte, to stay sleek and strong.
Excellent point.
Okay?
I made that point to a few of his confidant and family members. His face was incredibly puffy in the press conferences over the last few weeks, no question.
Okay, so is he just a little, this is hard for me to buy, but is he a little out of shape midway through the NBA Finals, or maybe late in the NBA Finals, depending on what happens from here on? Okay, that's a problem. And I don't know if his very close friend LeBron James is looking at his puffy face thinking, Dwayne, I just don't know if you've got what Tim Grover claims that you have, which is 4 more good years to help me win some more championships here. Okay? I will give you that point.
I believe in Dwayne Wade, as I'm sure you do. And you know how we both feel about Tim Grover. And if he says that the knee is structurally good enough, then I'm going to take him at his word, because he's exceptional at what he does. But watching Dwayne Wade play in Game 4 of the NBA Finals last night, there is no way in hell that anybody could say you got 4 years left on those legs.
But Stephen A. Smith, the flashes.
But it's just one game.
Listen, what I saw in Game 1 and Game 2 from Dwayne Wade,
completely different.
I'm thinking 4 more years.
Sure.
4 more years.
That's right.
Sure.
Okay.
That's why I said it's just one game.
So I'm not going to overreact yet. If I see the same Dwayne Wade in Game 5, maybe I'm starting to come around to your point of view of maybe it's not enough for LeBron James. But Chris Bosh on some nights is sensational. Like some nights I think he's a top 10 player.
Listen, Chris Bosh can play, but he disappears too much. He is a member of the Big Three. He is getting paid 9 figures, $110 million to be exact. I don't want to spend 50% of the time looking and saying, where is he? His game is too good for that.
Okay.
And the fact that he hasn't stepped up matters. The fact that Dwayne Wade has to miss a third of the season matters
It does.
to LeBron James. Because who's the one guy that's consistently out on the floor and asked to carry the load on both ends of the floor? LeBron James is 29 approaching 30.
Yeah.
But you don't want him to be 30 feeling like 50 because he got to carry the load.
Indeed, yeah.
It's not right. Somebody else has got to be able to step up and help this man.
I'm still not going to overreact. And yet, so many people knocked down the story yesterday saying, how could the Big Three all give up so much money, sacrifice so much money to leave $40 million on the table for Carmelo to join them? That's probably real. That's probably a realistic view of it.
I'm telling you right now, I cannot see the Big Four formulating.
Yeah.
I cannot see that. I can see this is the likely scenario for me. And again, it's all moot if Chris Bosh elects to opt in, take his $20 million next year and stay, as opposed to opting out, renegotiating a contract that calls for a lower salary, or deciding to move up because the Lakers would take Chris Bosh, the Dallas Mavericks would take Chris Bosh. There's a few teams that would take Chris Bosh, okay? And he'd be more of a primary option. But here's the likely scenario for me, and I don't see it happening, but it's plausible. Chris Bosh opts out to go somewhere else to make more money and to compete elsewhere.
Okay.
They convinced Dwayne Wade to take a pay cut because Dwayne Wade is always going to be taken care of by the Miami Heat for life. And that way, that leaves room for Melo to come and LeBron to stay.
Wait, quickly, time out before we get out of here. Before we get out of here, Game 5, your prediction.
I think it's over. I think the Spurs win Game 5.
South Beach, this is your mayor jumping ship, abandoning ship on you.
No, not at all. This is the mayor telling them we're in orange or red mode, okay? And it is what it is. I'm alerting my constituency, my citizens. I'm alerting them to the catastrophe that is unfolding before our very eyes.
Yes.
Brace yourself. That's all I'm trying to do.
So you're saying a basketball hurricane is coming in.
And I'm saying you live another day. You retool, you rebuild, you come back in the future. But this particular series is over.
Okay, so do you see a rout in Game 5? Do you see like a 20-point game at halftime?
Skip, I'm not going to lie to you. If the Miami Heat surrender a lead to the San Antonio Spurs by halftime, if the San Antonio Spurs have a lead by halftime, the San Antonio Spurs will blow them out of the building in the fourth quarter.
Quickly, sir.
I would dearly love to see my Spurs clinch this in 5 games at home.
Yes.
I would celebrate. I would consider twerking for you, Karen Champion. I would. But my better judgment tells me that I shouldn't trust my Spurs at home against a team that I still have high respect for.
Okay.
And that's LeBron James and Dwayne Wade's team. So I'm going to stick with my original prediction. Spurs in 6.
Okay.
Spurs in 6.
And I'm going to say to you, I hope you're right.
Quickly.
And that means, Mayor, you would have to come back here and use your key to the city.
I want to say something to you guys quickly, and it's very important. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for coming out this week.
Thank you.
I'm not kidding. You guys were great. I appreciate you. We're heading back to San Antonio. We want to thank the Cleveland Hotel.
Thank you.
If the Heat win Game 5, we're back here on Tuesday. We love you. We thank you. We appreciate you. You guys were great. Give it
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The Miami Heat have won the 2013 NBA title.
Major League Baseball.
The Boston Red Sox have won the World Series.
The full championship series.
The tide has risen again. The third time in 4 years.
You're home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.